Good morning, White Mountain Apache Tribe, and all viewers of Chairwoman Gwendena Lee Facebook show. My name is Jerry Gloshay Jr. I'm Chief of Staff for the Office of the Chairwoman of the White Mountain Apache Tribe for the Honorable Chairwoman Gwendena Lee-Gatewood. And so let's bring her in here. Let's welcome her to the program this morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Chairwoman, hi.
Hi.
Beautiful background. It's warm today. It's 70 degrees on this October 17. Wow, already in the middle of October. A lot of things happening. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day and a busy day, and the leaves are changing. Two of my kids came home to,
All
for the
right.
weekend, and I'm happy that they're home, and we're gonna go check out the leaves later. So
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
this past Monday was Indigenous Peoples Day. And so I thought I'd dress the part a little, and you're the contemporary. So we're
Hmm.
living in the best of both worlds, the past and present and future. So anyway, good, good. Um, I recall that we have two young students that helped out with that promoting and eventually having Indigenous Peoples Day become reality signed by the governor. One I recall is Dylan Baca, son
Hmm.
of Donna Faye White Singer. And can you remind me who the other one was?
Madeline Woods.
Madeline Woods. Wow, so good.
Yeah.
They are on the fast track to becoming something special for the future here. So, very good. Chairwoman, I understand this past week the tribe added on a new member to the White River Police Department, the police force. Actually, two of them. Can
Yeah,
you?
two of them.
Yeah.
Yes, right here, we want to welcome the newest member of the White Mountain Apache Police Department and K9 Officer Pendergast, along with K9 Nitro. Check out Nitro. He's look like he's ready for
Wow.
business, and we want to offer our welcome to Officer Pendergast and his family. Thank you to his family for allowing him to serve and to joining the White Mountain Apache Police Department. Welcome, Officer Pendergast. It's always very humbling, very appreciative what our first responders do so that we can live in peace and safety. And we, you know, our hats off to the department, Chief Shaw and his crew there, and Officer Pendergast. Welcome.
Indeed. Welcome, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. Um, Chairwoman, today is October 17, and I think there's 17 days remaining until Election Day. Today, we have we're expecting two guests. The first would be uh, candidate Mark Kelly for U.S. Senate, and he should be calling in or chiming in very soon here. According to our producer, he's hasn't checked in yet. And the other later on in the program will be the incumbent, also candidate Martha McSally. Both of them are vying for the seat of United States Senate representing Arizona. And so it's exciting, and we are looking forward to speaking with them. And just also wanted to let people know that the census has ended this past week. And so whatever numbers we have are the numbers we have. And at last check, in terms of overall percentage, we were in the high 90s of our tribal membership participating. And so in our tribal homeland. So thank you, tribal members, for doing that, taking the time. I know it's not fun, I guess, but thank you for doing that. And with your count, you are helping the future of White Mountain Apache Tribe for the next 10 years. These census takes place every decade. And so, Chairwoman, you want to say anything on that before we go to the next subject?
Yes, very important census. I know we've been pushing and pushing, and you have come through. And just want to say thank you for all the efforts of everybody, and that goes to our group. You know, Dallas Massey and his group, and Deb and Nalwat and their group, the enumerators, the tribal council, housing authority. Our office, the vice chair's office, council, everybody just played a big part in getting this census to where it's at, and mainly, you know, you people out there took it upon yourselves to go and be counted. So thank you. Di jobi wani uli o out any la sao bara no sinki ay wa arit yung a bah bich o di ro les la sa iwi yo sto sao hat ita beno hich o di a besegen no how tak to les libi wa no ha alzai. Very important. So thank you very much in participating in the census. And you can still do it. You can still show up at the public library, correct, Jerry?
Yeah, no, it ended.
No?
It actually,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the deadline was extended to October 30 or 31, but abruptly it ended this past Thursday. And
Oh,
so
okay.
what we have is what we have. But I think we did very well in comparison to the last decade, and just the seeing people, hordes of them coming in. Well, I wouldn't say hordes, but they would keep us a steady flow, keeping our people busy at all times. And so yeah, we I think we did well. So we're looking forward to the final report whenever that will be released. All right, Chairwoman. Well, I saw earlier on the bottom, hey, Dion Day Sr., good morning. Derek Leslie,
Right
there
there.
he is from downtown White River.
Check out
Looks
his
like
profile
he's,
picture.
man, wow, he's got more hair than I do now. I got the COVID look. This is the COVID look, 8 months without a haircut. So actually, I like this bandana thing, but he's got more hair. Man, Derek, overnight. Well, he said, will they be able to ask questions regarding the two guests? We'll play it by ear. How's that? We'll just play it by ear, I guess. Um, well, before we get to our first guest, let's recap in case they're watching the two candidates, Mark Kelly and Martha McSally, their campaign, their team. Let them become familiar with us a little bit, White Mountain Apache Tribe. So we have 17,000 tribal members here, and probably an additional 5 to 6,000 non-tribal that live here on the reservation. We have 1.6 million acres. We have the uh, front of the watershed here on our mountains that eventually flow to the Pacific Ocean. And we've been here since time immemorial. We're White Mountain Apache Tribe. We still carry our culture, our language, our songs and dances, and our young people are very contemporary, and they're in school right now by way of laptops and checking in every day. So we're living in the best of both worlds, as Chairwoman and I are dressed as such. But anyway, we had dealt just like the whole world with COVID-19. Where did it come from? Why is it here? All of that stuff, we had to deal with it. Chairwoman and I, we were both executive assistants for the Honorable Chairman Ronnie Lupi, who had been chairman for 9 terms. He started in the 60s. The chairwoman and I were executive assistants, and for since 2006 to 2018. and the chairwoman is our first ever elected female chairwoman in the history of our tribe. And I serve as her chief of staff today. So Mr. Lupi left an impact. And so, yes, in February, Alchese Falcons packed up Veterans Memorial Coliseum, and they were the number one ranked team in 2A boys basketball, and we lost a heartbreaker. Many saw that it should have went into overtime, but it didn't happen. But nonetheless, a huge crowd in one building. Meanwhile, COVID-19 was barely introducing itself in America. And at that time, we had zero outbreak and nobody tested positive. And so that's where I'll start, I guess. On March 10, the governing body implemented work from home. Everyone was ordered to go home. It was like, huh? What? Who? What? Hey, where? Wow, I got this to do. I got that to. Nope, we got to go home. And so that's what we've been doing since. And resolutions, several of them were made through various tribal council meetings. On April 1st, it happened to be General Election Day. And that was the first positive case of COVID-19 on the reservation. And by that time, we were hoping to get some CARES Act funding that was in the works. The outbreak started from there. When I say outbreak, things got really bad here at White Mountain Apache Tribe. A lot of tribal members were contracting this virus. And it got as high as, maybe you can share it on that, Chairwoman. It was 2,000 people, I think, or something like that. So I recall we went into some essential shopping days. Everyone was ordered to stay at home. On July 4, it was really kind of bad. We had a lockdown during that holiday. No fishing, no ceremonies, no going to church, no doing anything in the public as we were always accustomed to. By that time, the stimulus funding from the federal government were being sent out. I believe we had 41 deaths overall. A lot of people were very ill, but many of them were also, now what is that word?
Recovered.
Where you don't get affected as much. Chairwoman, I need help on that.
Well,
Asymptomatic.
Yeah, asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic. A lot of folks were like that. But anyway, in time, July, August, during this outbreak, we eventually saw a lot of improvement. The governing body did a lot of things. The chairwoman made a major face mask drive that almost every tribal member got several face masks. And so that was a very successful thing. We had a lot of food drives. The EOC was established, and they really have done an outstanding job. So improvement happened, and then near mid-August, our numbers started to improve vastly. Meaning, we've had at some days zero. Go this way. Zero outbreak or zero positive tests. So the tribe moved into what we call state.
Yeah, those are good points. An tlaten konohan yan kono hepasta an introduce and let Nigeria adi.
Okay. So we moved to phase 2, and now we're almost knocking on the door of phase 3. So that's where we are. But ladies and gentlemen, we have our guests here. And so he is a candidate for United States Senate representing Arizona. He represents the Democrat Party. He is a one-time astronaut, an engineer. He is a retired U.S. Navy captain. was is living in Tucson with Gabby Gifford, former leader of Arizona. And so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to our program Mark Kelly.
Well, thank you.
Hey.
Thank you, Jerry. And
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning to our viewers out there. You know, it's very important as a tribal leader that we bring the issues to you, what's going on in Arizona and the United States, and it's very important that you be informed on the issues at hand. And one of the ways that we wanted to do that is to introduce you to candidates so that you can meet them, get to know them, and just make your own. You have that wonderful privilege of voting, and it's your voice. And part of that is the voice of who we have in DC. So today I welcome you, Mr. Kelly, and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself that Jerry didn't cover that you want them to know at this time.
Well, thank you, Chairwoman. I think it's important for people to know that I'm committed my entire life to public service. I'm a lifetime public servant, and I come from a family of public servants. Both of my parents were police officers. My grandfathers both served in World War II, one in the Navy in the Pacific, the other in the Merchant Marine in the Atlantic. And I served in the Navy from after college all the way through my career at NASA. So I spent 25 years in the United States Navy, 15 of that at NASA. I was a pilot for a while aboard an aircraft carrier. I served in the Western Pacific. I made a couple of deployments to the Middle East. I flew 39 combat missions in the first Gulf War. Then I went to grad school, became a test pilot, became an astronaut in 1996, and I flew 4 space flights. 2 of those, I was the commander of the space shuttle. So I had an opportunity to try to solve some hard problems using teamwork with a very diverse group of people, by paying attention to details and making sure you're following the science and the data and the facts on things. So I had a 15-year career as a NASA astronaut. And now I'm running for the United States Senate to serve all Arizonans, regardless of what corner of the state they may live in. And that means defending and protecting the sovereignty of tribal communities. And I had the opportunity last year mostly to visit a lot of tribal nations and really learn about, treaty obligations and water rights and infrastructure issues. And it was a great learning experience for me. And I think that, and the combination of my background as an engineer and an astronaut and a combat veteran, and somebody who is committed to working across the aisle, like we've seen before from Arizona senators like John McCain, or like my wife, Gabby Giffords, as a member of the House, committed to working on these problems in a bipartisan way. So I want folks to know that if elected as your senator, I'm going to work every single day to make sure we're addressing the problems that Arizonans are facing and that the federal government often fails us on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and on that note, on your travels to these Indian tribes, what did you find were the greatest challenges facing Arizona tribes, and how would you address them in the Senate?
One thing I thought was interesting is, depending on which tribal community, sometimes the issues were different. And let me just give you an example, like visiting the Colorado River Indian tribes, there were issues about agriculture, and the San Carlos Apache, there was issues about infrastructure regarding some of their law enforcement facilities and courts. And on the Navajo Nation, infrastructure issues, water rights is often an issue. But I would say the overarching thing that I took away from all of these visits was that the federal government often has not lived up to the treaty obligations that is made with tribes. And because of that, the infrastructure often struggles, and healthcare isn't what it should be. I mean, I find it, it's rather remarkable that the per person healthcare spending in the country is about $9,000 per person, but in tribal communities in Arizona, that number is around 3,000. And there is a treaty obligation to provide good healthcare. Well, that doesn't sound like good healthcare to me. And then broadband issues and water infrastructure and roads and schools. I mean, these are all areas that need to be addressed by the United States Senate and the U.S. government so the government can live up to these obligations.
Right. And on
Chairwoman, I lost you there.
Chairwoman, we lost you. You were about to
that
ask a
note
question.
on quantification.
Chairwoman, could you repeat your question again? Okay, while she's going to address her technical problems. Good morning, sir. Best wishes to you and your family. Yes, sir. There are 23 tribes here in Arizona, and you talked about the uniqueness of each of them. I guess in general, right now, one of the biggest things that I kind of feel that we're all struggling with is the CARES Act funding. Specifically, there is a deadline to expend all of that funds by December 30, 31 somewhere, which for some might be a challenge. So in situations like this, where the commonality of not just one or two or three, but many tribes, probably not just in Arizona, how would you voice that concern from the tribes to your fellow senators in Congress in Washington, D.C., should you become elected?
Well, tribes, Jerry, need to be a priority. And in the CARES Act funding, initially in the first couple versions of the legislation that was even voted on, it didn't have any relief for tribes. Eventually, it got added, and then the administration sent some of this money to for-profit tribal corporations in Alaska, and it took a while for tribal nations in Arizona to get the funding they needed to handle this pandemic. And in some places in our state, we had a very high infection rate and a great need for that relief. So I think it's a matter of making tribal communities a priority, and I'm committed to doing that. And we still have this public health crisis is still significant, and it's made and because of it, we've got a serious economic crisis, and both of these things have been made worse by a crisis of leadership. So I'm hopeful that after this election, we can get back to work on trying to solve some of these problems and not dismiss the science and not dismiss the public health officials on this and come up with a plan, because we really haven't had a plan. And the role of government should be to anticipate problems and get ahead of them. And I just feel over the last 10 months, especially 9-10 months, we have been consistently a step behind.
Good. So I don't know if Chairwoman's back. There she is.
Back. Yes. My going out should tell you that we definitely need broadband here.
That's true.
But going back on my question, several years ago, Congress passed the Water Rights Quantification Act for our tribe, which will provide reliable drinking water supply and distribution system for the tribe. One of the reasons that legislation passed is because the sponsors of the legislation worked in a bipartisan manner. In such a divided country and in this political environment right now, how would you work with Republicans to make sure the tribe's needs are met and not caught up in partisan politics?
Well, Chairwoman, that's one of the reasons I'm running, is because of the partisanship and how political everything has come, and a Washington that's paralyzed on so many issues because they refuse to work together like folks like Senator John McCain used to do and others. So I think change is important, and it's a matter of setting priorities. And, tribal nations are such an integral part to our history and our culture in Arizona. And there needs to be a priority to, solve some of these issues that tribal communities are facing, because in almost every area, it is more significant than in other parts of the state. So there needs to be a focus on that. And I'm committed to doing that if elected to the United States Senate, and find folks on the other side of the aisle that are willing to work as a partner in bringing the need, whether it's infrastructure, education, healthcare, rural broadband, clean drinking water. I've been, studying some of the water issues here, and the water settlement. I guess it's several years old now, which has been a great thing for the White Mountain Apache tribe. But I think that, like you say, that's a good example of bipartisanship. But we need more of that. And we've been going in the wrong direction on this for way too long. And, I used to have a former commanding officer of mine, a guy from Iowa. His name was Terry Toms. And he used to say, if you're not changing it, it's getting worse. So I think we need change in Washington, D.C. And change in Washington, D.C. means, you change some of the people that are serving there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you for that. And another great challenge that we have here at the tribe is the lack of law enforcement. We have a high crime rate and very few law enforcement officers. And I know you come from a family of law enforcement officers, but a reservation of our size, this creates a significant problem. And we just had one of our officers killed in the line of duty earlier this year. There have been efforts to defund the police, but in places like the Fort Apache Indian Reservation, we have the exact opposite problem. How would you go about securing more resources and law enforcement officers for the tribe? And this could be for other tribes that are, similar in this position as well.
Right, Chairwoman. I spent some time with the police chief of the San Carlos Apache tribe, and we spent a good amount of time, talking about some of these issues, the lack of being able to recruit and retain police officers. And, he explained to me that that's not just unique to the San Carlos Apaches, that goes for a lot of tribal communities. And he's been struggling with that, but it was also infrastructure issues. And I think, like so many other issues, it's really a commitment to improving the lives of tribal members. And a big part of that is to make sure that communities have the resources, including that the police have the resources to do their jobs. Like you say, I come from a family of police officers, not only my parents. I have an aunt who was an FBI agent, an uncle who was a police officer. I mean, my whole family's cops and firefighters. And my mother was one of the first female police officers in northern New Jersey. And it was really her, how big of a challenge that was for her that really motivated me to do some hard things. So I'm committed to making sure that law enforcement across the state, including tribal communities, have the resources they need to hire and train professional law enforcement officers, but also that the infrastructure gets upgraded in these communities where it's needed.
Well, thank you. And then one last question. What Senate committee would you try to be on if you are elected senator?
Well, as a U.S. senator, typically a senator's on, 3 committees in the United States Senate. I'm still studying this, and one of my goals here, if I'm elected, is where can I go where I can be the most help? My background in engineering, and as an astronaut, I'm a combat veteran, so I'm evaluating this now. Certainly Indian affairs is, high on my priority list, but I've got to get through the next 2 weeks first before I start figuring that out. And it's so critical that folks vote. I mean, I really want to encourage, Chairwoman, folks in your community and across our entire state, that if they have their vote by mail ballot, to get it filled out, get it turned in. If they don't and they're going to vote in person, come up with a plan, because it is such an important part of our democracy. regardless of who folks are voting for. You know, whether it's me or my opponent. I mean, just get out there and exercise your right to vote and get that ballot turned in. It just, I mean, that's everything. And it looks like people are enthusiastic this election cycle, despite being in the middle of a pandemic. But I want folks to be sure they do it safely. So thank you, Chairwoman.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All
Jerry.
right. All right. Best of luck, sir. Okay. All right, Chairwoman. So that was Mark Kelly, candidate for U.S. Senate in the state of Arizona. And so a lot of folks maybe have made their minds to vote already, but maybe there are some that are undecided yet. And so that's part of the reason why the Honorable Chairwoman wanted to invite Mark Kelly along with the Senator Martha McSally, who will be here in a few more minutes, about 15 minutes from now. I hope you all will get a chance to hear them. And Chairwoman is very popular. She was contacted from DC to meet some other folks that she may choose to talk about. There she is. So Chairwoman, that was a good set of questions you had. Thank you. And so
yes,
we're,
and thank you to Mr. Kelly. You know, this internet, this is a prime example why we need improved broadband, and we are working on it. We just need help to get that secured.
So with this broadband, just to bring people up to speed, we had another meeting again, and so we're at a point now where they're ready to present to the tribal council, yay or nay. Do we get this? Good. And if it's a yes, do we get this size or a bigger size? So we're moving, and that's coming up soon. We got to move fast, and so it might be as soon as this week, Chairwoman. So that's only good for the people. As the candidate mentioned, yes, there's 17 days until Election Day, and here at White Mountain Apache Tribe from Navajo County, in which the majority of the tribal members live in, some are in Gila County, like Kenyon Day and parts of Sibique, parts of Cedar Creek. They're in Gila County, and then McNary, they're in Apache County. But the rest of us are all from Navajo County. Navajo County had installed ballot boxes right there for your convenience if you're leery or nervous about voting live or voting by way of mail. So that option is available to you. There is a ballot box right by the Human Resources building across the highway from White River Lutheran Church. You can see it. It's painted red, white, and blue. That's one location for Navajo County. The other is in Sibique, right in front of the complex. And so the chairwoman had wrote a letter to Gila County to request for a ballot box to be placed at Kenyon Day Store. The Kenyon Day Store manager had approved, but I haven't driven out that way yet, so I'm not sure if it had been installed or not. But nonetheless, 17 days until Election Day. That's the excitement in the air. At least for me, I'm really looking forward to it. And so some of you got your voting packets. If you are leery about voting in person, that is another option. So take the time to vote in this important election. Just like Donna Faye Whitesinger says on District 5, Navajo County Supervisors, right on cue. And she too is a candidate. There are a lot of tribal membership from various tribes, including ours, that are vying for various positions in state government and county government, and even, I think, national government. So vote for them. One of our close friends from San Carlos, Bernadine Niffin. Donna Faye is in Navajo County Board of Supervisors, and there are others. And so tribal leadership's growing. Chairwoman, back to you.
Yeah, Dee, how Han Washington D.C. yusto no ha siz narazini out do hara koye jara do hara koye ja hati no hana inada yati no hada is ako Han no hina da lehi awatin in da den Mark Kelly ani no je hatsi la e kau kari la e yichi iri ka an sloka no je zi o les no hi era sa hala dan no si hibiwa awa dal sohon era han tillagaisa an inde dahye indehi yich o di jon tilo yahi zi do lehi ei linada no hibi wa lasa di no hi indehi bilt da adalt la di go di bich na edashkit ko inde bahisi hindi how lano hij on di do lesh ko yet inde lao no hi kegati ei do ran yora awa kono che hanzi la beltishti hibi wa ashona tala ko da la ano hanya na kari la san ka no che tin en denijo joho izo hi banini onte ka yejo how nantehi jo is this so by di out there ta ni yati ilin izohi doni na inde to hada izoho baut ara ni no hikihi dichi o no howlin ola bits ayat ni nal gotolin dag o izoho do left to bayo dahda left. It's very important that you vote, and it is like Councilman Arnold Beach. Welcome on the show, Councilman.
All right.
He said, "Vote,
Chairwoman. Okay,
vote,
good.
vote," and it's so
Chairwoman, you
true.
broke out.
It's very
Sorry,
very
Chairwoman.
important. Go
You
ahead.
faded in and out again. Sorry, Chairwoman. You had faded in and out. But the point is true.
Okay.
Yes, we got to vote. Here are some others that I got in the mail that you can see, I guess. Gemma Sita Peshlakai, Orlando Teller, and Myron Sosi. Gemma Sita is running for state senate. Orlando and Myron are running for state representatives. And so they come from Navajo Nation, but they will be our representatives as they have in the past. So a lot of tribal leaders stepping up to the plate. And someday we might have a Native American senator or congressman. So that's in the works right now. Chairwoman, before we go, is the guest here yet or not yet?
Yes.
She is.
Yes.
Okay. You want to introduce her?
Sure. Senator McSally is a United States Senator from the state of Arizona. She previously represented Arizona's 2nd Congressional District for 4 years in the United States House of Representatives. Prior to serving in Congress, Senator McSally served 26 years in the U.S. Air Force, retiring in 2010 as a full colonel. She's the first female fighter pilot to fly in combat and the first to command a fighter squadron in combat in United States history. Senator McSally currently sits on the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs and the Energy and Natural Resources Department, among others. So we would like to welcome Senator McSally. Hey, good morning.
Chairwoman. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
It's great to join you today. I hope you're well and hanging in there. I know it's been a very challenging year.
Yes, it's very challenging. My internet today is a little spotty, so if I go out, my co-host Jerry will be kicking in, but I apologize for that. But I know you're very busy, and as you are aware, Arizona tribes and specifically White Mountain Apache and Navajo have been hit hard by COVID-19. I want to thank you for your efforts in securing $8 billion in CARES legislation for tribes for COVID-19 related expenses. Could you explain to the viewers how that fund is set up and whether you believe there'll be additional COVID-19 related funding before the end of the year?
Well, thanks, Chairwoman. It's been wonderful to partner with you since I've been in the Senate. And when this first in the century pandemic hit and we were moving quickly to craft the CARES Act, I was the senator who said we need a specific carve out for the Tribal Relief Fund. And I went to bat within the Senate with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and then directly with the White House to secure the $8 billion. the single biggest influx of resources to tribal communities in our history, and to ensure as the money went out there, because as you said, I mean, tribal communities have been so hard hit for so many reasons, underlying health issues, lack of access to health and running water, and just the infrastructure, and so many challenges. So we wanted to get those resources out the door with maximum flexibility. And so I champion that $8 billion that I really hope is making a difference with White Mountain Apache Tribe, plus the additional resources for IHS and other medical support. And when we crafted the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, I went to Chairman Rubio and said, we need to make sure there's tribal parity. I mean, every program we had in the CARES Act said, we got to make sure there's language in there. I know we're doing these things fast, but there's got to be tribal parity in there. And we put the language in there for PPP, but it took a while for Treasury to unlock that. So I was relentless in my engagement with Secretary Mnuchin and his deputy to ensure that tribal enterprises could get access to PPP, to be able to just help hang in there. I know you've all been really hard hit, especially tribal enterprises are relying a lot on tourism and travel, and that's been hit really hard during the pandemic. So that tribal parity was important. That $8 billion was critical. The additional funding for healthcare for tribes and tribal members, that parity with any programs we had out there. And then lately, I've continued to advocate for increased flexibility. I think how best to use the resources for the White Mountain Apache Tribe. You don't need the government, the federal government tying your hands. So maximum flexibility. We've been able to free that up a little bit over time here and there because I've engaged repeatedly with Treasury on this. And then voted for legislation recently in the Senate that would extend the deadline till the end of next year. So you have more ability to invest in what you think are the best investments with those resources. So we've got to get that legislation across the finish line. I'll be going back next week. I really hope that we can move that forward. As far as additional COVID relief, we're working through our differences. I really hope we can move something forward in a bipartisan way to get the more targeted relief out to people, to be able to support families and small businesses and communities and tribes that are still struggling from this pandemic. And we really think it should be targeted this time. Let's really look at where the suffering is and make sure that we're getting that relief out to those specific communities, and programs like schools, support to getting schools open, additional support to small businesses, and support to the healthcare heroes who are out there. I'm just thinking about, you're saying your internet connection is a little spotty. We also need tribal broadband. I've been, working in a bipartisan way on this, the Tribal Connect Act, across the aisle. So we're going to keep championing for additional relief out there. The virus is still among us, everybody. We've got to be vigilant. We've got to continue to protect the vulnerable, ensure you have enough testing and treatments out there, get the vaccine developed and distributed until we defeat this virus, which we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very, reassuring to know that you're there, just, working with the Treasury to come up with additional guidelines to try to get that extended, because there's a lot of tribes doing a lot of major work on what they need with the CARES Act funding. And it also is for here at White Mountain. Just this past week, the Tribal Council, we've been meeting on what we can do to help improve our water and our sewer systems for the people, because COVID-19, you have to absolutely have hygiene is paramount. And I want to ask you another question, Senator. One of the greatest challenges facing our tribe is the lack of law enforcement. We have a high crime rate and very few law enforcement officers. On a reservation of our size, this creates a number of significant problems. And in fact, we just had one of our officers killed in the line of duty earlier this year. There have been efforts to defund the police, but in places like the Fort Apache Indian Reservation, we need more law enforcement officers, not less. How would you go about securing more resources and law enforcement officers for the tribe?
I agree with you. This dangerous effort to defund the police is so out of touch and is extremely dangerous for communities. So I fully support the men and women in law enforcement. I have the Arizona Police Association endorsement representing 12,000 law enforcement across the state because they know I do back the blue. And like you said, I think they need more funding, not less, across the board. You all know that pain of someone killed in the line of duty. The increase in the attacks on law enforcement has gone up as you've seen this just vilification and the attacks we've seen in the whether it's we saw some other ones here in Arizona, and to include shootings and laser attacks and different things that are happening around the country. So we've got to stop this from happening. Look, my opponent has a staffer who in August put out a tweet that said, and I'm not going to quote it perfectly because there's a swear word in it, towards a police department that they are worthless effing pigs. And my opponent then hired that person as his spokesman a week later. And this was just revealed this week, and he did not fire him. He's still on his team as a spokesperson. I just think that's despicable, and that's an example of this radical left movement that's impacting our public safety. So I'm going to keep working with you, Chairwoman Lee-Gatewood, to make sure we can get more law enforcement resources and dollars to White Mountain Apache Tribe, because we've got to ensure you have public safety there on the reservation and people can feel safe to go about their lives. So let's keep partnering together on this and see what we can do about it to get you more resources.
I appreciate that. Another question that I want to also commend your efforts along with Representative O'Halloran and Senator Sinema on the letter that you wrote to requesting that administration repair and replace our facility because it was a danger to our inmates at the correction facility. Thank you for sending that letter on your work on behalf of the tribe. Can you provide an update from the Department of Interior on what's going on to address that issue, if you have an update?
So I was just going to mention that. So, it's unacceptable, the detention facility and the safety issues there. And they owe us an answer. We sent a letter out together, myself, Senator Sinema, and Congressman O'Halloran, just simply asking them for an update on what they are going to do in order to repair this facility. And we still haven't heard back from them. So this is unacceptable. We have bureaucrats who are not responsive to the oversight body. So just know we're going to turn up the heat on them to get back to us with an answer as to what their plan is to repair this detention facility.
And with your efforts on the detention facility and our water settlement, I appreciate that you've worked in a bipartisan way with our delegation to advance the tribe's interests. And right now, people are commenting that we're in a divided country and in this political environment. How would you work with the Democrats to make sure that the tribe's needs are met and not caught up in partisan politics?
Well, I already have, and you know that, Chairwoman. We've worked in a bipartisan way on these issues so far, to include the COVID relief. Again, I led the effort to make sure that we could get it across the finish line with the White House, which is of my party, and then working with Senator Udall and others. I work with Senator Heinrich. We really are a bipartisan committee in the Indian Affairs Committee, and we can find that common ground. So you've seen that already. I was ranked the 6th most bipartisan senator last year in my first year in the Senate. Senator Sinema was number 5. I was number 6. So I think that just shows you that was from an independent group. So it's not my own assessment. And I tied for the most bills signed into law last year of any senator, tied for number 1. And I'd only been there a year. So we see where the differences are, but I'm a pragmatic problem solver. And I always look for where we can find that common ground and how we can move something forward to solve issues. And you mentioned it when we saw your water settlement deadline was coming up and you would lose the funding. We sprung into action to ensure that we could get that extension in the funding bill that passed last year. My staff was engaged tirelessly on this. I personally engaged with the chairman of the appropriations subcommittee to make sure this language got in there. And we followed this until it got across the finish line to ensure you got that extension. So that's the work that you don't see, and the partisan stuff you see on television, where we just put our, nose to the grindstone and really work hard to get things done. And I've proud of my record so far, working on behalf of White Mountain Apache Tribe and the other tribes in Arizona. it's an honor to serve on the Indian Affairs Committee. It's a tradition to always have an Arizonan on there. I learn things from you every time we have a conversation. I'm really grateful for our partnership, and it's an honor to be your representative. So I hear from you, I hear what your needs are, and then deploy to DC to see what we can do to get them done. And I'll keep doing that.
I really appreciate that, and you know, that help with the helping make that extension, the enforceability date of the settlement, and your efforts along with Senator Sinema and Congressman O'Halloran. We truly appreciate that, and that's what we like to see, and that's boots on the ground effort to help our tribe. And many thanks for your work in that. Jerry, do you have a question for Senator before we let her go? I know she's
Well,
very busy.
you just stole it just now. The last question, you took it. But best wishes to you, Martha McSally, and prayers to you and your family and your team. So thank you for helping out White Mountain Apache Tribe and all the past efforts here. Best wishes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's an honor to all of you. And again, everybody hang in there. My prayers are with you as well. It's been a tough year, whether it's livelihoods or health. I mean, my own brother passed away this year. He's 58 years old, not from COVID, but it's just a reminder. Every day is truly a gift, and you know, through the own challenges I've had in my own life, it's propelled me to push through my pain and to fight for others. And again, I know it's been difficult, but we are going to defeat this virus. Everybody, hang in there, and it's been an honor to be able to get the relief out to you. And I'm going to keep fighting for you.
Thank you very much. You know, this COVID has really taken a toll on the whole United States, and it's very important that we continue to work together. And I just want to thank you for always taking my call, and just, you know, whatever questions that we have, your staff is ready to go. And I just want to thank you for that, truly. And thank you for being a guest today on Saturday morning, Chairwoman. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, Chairwoman. So 2 candidates for United States Senate for representing Arizona. Good job. So we're glad to have that.
Yeah, I just wanted, you know, the people need to know that our issues aren't just here. Our issues, our Native American issues, are here on our reservation, the state, and Washington, D.C., and sometimes beyond that, because we have relatives in the military who serve, you know, outside the country. We have a lot of issues that affect Indian country, and it's very important. This is a way to bring that to the people so they can make their own informed, you know, issues and come forward, and taking the time to meet, you know, come and say hello to our people who are viewing on the show right now. And the people need to have that analysis and make that decision, because that's something that's special to them. No one can have, you know, that special opportunity other than you, the person, which is why, like Councilman Beach said earlier, you have to vote.
So, you know, I gotta admit, I was going to say that before, but the senator just chimed in. But I was going to say was that yesterday, Congressman Tom O'Halloran was here, and he was actually at the detention center, and he mentioned that he will go before the committee, and they took pictures of some of the infrastructure and heard our issues. That would be Gerald Altahall from District 2. Arnold Beach was there. Travis Tisay from District 1. And I was representing your office, and Brennan was representing the vice chairman's office. So the congressman was on site at the detention center yesterday, and he wanted to ensure that they will do all they can, since he has seen it firsthand. Now, I understand he did the same at San Carlos Apache Tribe. Thereafter, we went to Rainbow Treatment Center to look at what their efforts are with those that are dealing with problems socially, addiction, and the facilities inside, and especially related to COVID-19. And after that, we were going to go across the street to community health representative, but instead they came over and they shared with the Senate, with the congressman, some of their efforts and their issues. And yes, I did mention Gerald Altaha, and Alvin DeClay was also there yesterday with Congressman O'Halloran. And from that point, I left, and they went to the White River School District to see firsthand how they're dealing with teaching our youth through internet, broadband and distance learning. And so the senator and two of his staff accompanied him, and it was a really informative day yesterday. So all went well. Maybe we can invite him to the program soon, along with his candidate opponent.
That would be Congressman O'Halloran and Tiffany Shedd. So
Tiffany Shedd. Okay.
so anybody that's watching, we want you to get the information. There's a lot of our tribal people that really can't travel to Phoenix to meet these candidates, and some of them do come. Congressman O'Halloran was here yesterday, and I want to thank you, Jerry, for representing the office. I did ask you to go and do that, so really appreciate that. And it's just so important to be informed and to read about what's going to affect not only the United States, but the state of Arizona and here in our homelands, and anybody that's watching, it's very important that you do vote. And it's a very important part of, changing the course of how things go for the country, for the state, for the county, and for our homelands. So very important. And I'm very grateful to Mr. Kelly and to Senator McSally for joining us today. And they're always welcome. And, to be on the Chairwoman show, very grateful. Ashona talati inda nakijo katyo izasodari kaida tehe bedotini da konandi zilagaisaan inde ya ko noje the yahonoje hadatzi handi lao narab in flokndi a ba kyosi ni hati antini angel by d out and din and thini a tai and yati na kwasa la for you, so that we make our link to Washington DC to say, hey, don't forget about White Mountain Apache tribe over here. Here's what we need, and that's been ongoing, and here we are.
Yes, very excellent, Chairwoman. Well said. I also wanted to inform our public that you, Chairwoman, are our president of Apache Alliance, all the Apache tribes from Arizona, New Mexico, and even in Oklahoma. And so we have a solid foundation amongst ourselves as brothers and sisters Apache. But yesterday was also a meeting, and what came out of the meeting at the end is that there will be a virtual Apache Alliance Summit. Right now, the host will be Fort Sill Apache Tribe, and this summit virtually is going to take place November 20, tentatively, it appears, and they have an alternative date in early December. But November 20 will be a virtual Apache Alliance Summit. And so we can give more information on details as it comes forward. So as president of Apache Alliance, I know you were wanting to have a summit soon in spite of this pandemic that we are in. And so that might be one of the good talking points among Apache nations is, hey, what was bad? We know what was bad, what was working, what was good. We can learn from each other from that and share with our other tribes that are close by, the Navajo Nation, um, Tahana Atam, Salt River, Hopi. All of these tribes can learn from what we thought was working for us. So, your thoughts on that, Chairwoman?
I'm excited. Chairwoman Ware out in Oklahoma, she's been instrumental in moving forward with hosting the summit. Every year, a tribe hosts the summit, and this year is Fort Sill Apache tribe. And last year, I handed off the Apache war rifle to her, and I'm looking forward to having a virtual summit. It's very important that the Apache tribes continue to work together, and each tribe is unique, but this Apache Alliance is something that was put together by very, very wise leaders in efforts to promote and to become a bigger voice when it comes to issues that affect Apache nations. And not only that, to also be a voice beyond that to help other Indian tribes and to work together on issues that affect Indian country. And it is very invigorating to know that these leaders, all come together to work for the interests of our own tribes and other tribes working together. And that's what's needed. And yes, they're from another tribe, but sometimes when you come together as one, it makes a monumental effect on an outcome that you need. And Indian country is on the rise. We are moving forward with innovation, technology, healthcare, whatnot. We're making a move, and just thinking of the words of my late father. He said, each person is not limited in their potential to do good. So, Gwendena, anybody has that limitless potential to do good, and you have to keep working at it. You can't sit still and just wish for things. You have to act on it, and that's what a lot of Indian country is doing right now. And taking that role, taking that leadership role, taking that initiative, and being a voice out there. And that's what Apache Alliance is also doing for all the tribes that it represents. So when you multiply all the tribes and their number of members in each tribe, you're looking at well over 50,000 Native Americans that the voice is even bigger. And then 50,000, and then those not yet born, it gets bigger and bigger. So we have to keep moving and having our voices heard, and very thankful to represent Apache Alliance in that aspect, Jerry.
Okay, well said. So, Chairwoman, tomorrow is Sunday. No Cardinals game, so go out and get firewood because it's starting to get colder every day, and leaves are changing color. That's our evidence. Why are the Cardinals not playing tomorrow? Well, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. They're playing on Monday night, and they're playing
Hey,
Dallas
Jerry, look.
Cowboys on Monday night. All right. I like that.
There's you.
The last time they met, Rod Tidwell scored a catch, and the Cardinals won. But that was a movie. That was Jerry Maguire. But anyway, that's all funny and cool. But Cardinals are going to win, ladies and gentlemen. I was looking at JT. She's our director of CHR yesterday. She was already sporting her Cardinals attire. And so anyway, I thought, yeah, they're going to win 20-17. I feel it. The Cowboys quarterback, I don't know if you saw it, Chairwoman, an ankle is one of the strongest parts of the body. The bones are. the quarterback from the Cowboys, his ankle almost popped out.
Ooh.
Just oh man, so he's out for the whole year. And by the same token, the Cardinals' best defensive lineman, he was all pro last year. He's out for the year. He played in the Pro Bowl, and so he's gone. So, but both teams are kind of beat up. But it's at Dallas, Texas, 5 o'clock on Monday. So if my phone nobody picks it up on Monday afternoon, that means I probably lost the phone and it fell down somewhere and I couldn't find it until after the game's over. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. But Cardinals are going to win, so go get wood tomorrow. It's a good day to go do that. And so, Chairwoman, any closing thoughts?
On that note that you mentioned JT Nashio, I served on a National Indian Health Board panel this week, and very, very proud of our Rainbow Treatment Center. They received an award, and so did JT Nashio in her work as well for community health representatives. So I want to just really give a big shout out to Rainbow Treatment Center and JT Nashio for her work. This is all under the leadership of Jessica Rudolfo, who is the division director, and then Vanjie Natan and Stacy Fielding, their work there at Rainbow Treatment Center, and then JT and her work with CHR. They won a national award, and that just puts White Mountain Apache Tribe up there on the map again. And when tribal member succeeds, the whole tribe succeeds. So we keep moving along in those lines. And I can't say enough of the work that our supervisors are doing. You know, Brenda Begay, environmental, Rick DiValentino at land operations, him and his crew for our broadband efforts. I asked him, and right away he's like, sure, we're on it. And Marty Baja is busy working on the heavy equipment with his team along with Rick DiValentino. So I have to say thanks there. And Housing Authority, you know, Victor Velasquez and his team. It's a team effort. It's really a team effort, and really want to thank everybody, and to the tribal members out there. You know, we're doing this all for you and your children and your grandchildren, those children not yet born. And the work continues. And that goes for all the tribal leaders out there. And if the work was easy, we wouldn't need all of this. And because it takes work, we work at it. And we work so that we can help resolve some of these issues. It doesn't come overnight. It does not come overnight. It takes a lot of effort, working together, resorting things. And this past week also, CBQ EMS, we had a groundbreaking ceremony out there because CBQ EMS, you know, Irma Beatty and her crew, they've waited so long to have their own emergency medical service unit with the helipad. And that's what's going to be in the works next. So hats off to Councilman Tisay and Beach for working together on that. And that came by way of CARES Act. Each council has the opportunity to work on a plan, a proposal. They bring it to the treasurer and all of the council on how they're going to implement things. And it has to be in sync with the guidelines. You can't just say, we want it for this. It has to be within the guidelines, because this is monies that we have to account for. So, you know, Irma Beatty, congratulations to everybody out there, the community of CBQ. You're going to get a helipad, a new EMS department, and we're taking things department by department. And just recently, we set aside some funding to help with sewer and water issues for families.
Good.
So you viewers out there, you know, if you need sewer and plumbing type issues, water issues, we do have to follow a criteria, and that has to be adamant that we follow that criteria. And then the amount is going to be limited, but at least it'll be offer some assistance there. So, all of this for improving the lives of our people. We're doing it a little by little. So I just want everyone to know that I truly am humbled to be your leader and to help promote the interests of the White Mountain Apache people, and to do what we need to do to work on your behalf, and working with the tribal council. They are instrumental, and each one has a unique history, just like all of the family members here, all the clans, all the heritage, history, and culture is very important. It makes us who we are, and you're the poster child, a person today, Jerry, and how you're dressing of our traditional Apache warrior. And Apaches long ago, they were relentless, and it still is today. They went in, took care of business, did it immediately, and came back, and they continue that legacy within each one of us here in Apache country. So very humbling. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Chairwoman, thank you to you too. A lot of good stuff happening for White Mountain Apache Tribe. All you people out there viewing, watching, yeah, even from outside of tribal homeland, continue to pray for one another. I think those prayers are working. Right now, it's just been a bad drought. It's mid-October, and we haven't had a really good storm yet here. So maybe that's one of the things we can pray for, okay? So as a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing the closing prayer in a little bit. Chairwoman, wow, what a outstanding program today. This is
I know. We
very humble.
We had Senator McSally and Mark
Kelly, right. So, okay. Anything else,
Kelly,
Chairwoman? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I'm just very grateful for the two guests for taking time out for addressing the White Mountain Apache people and the viewers. We have other tribes that watch the show, non-tribal members that watch the show, and we're moving right along, and very grateful to help bring the issues in the comfort of your own home, that you could watch from the executive office, live from the executive office. And thank you to our chief of staff here for being my co-host. Thank you, and our producer.
Okay, well, I'm going to just do a short excerpt and then the short version prayer too, okay? So, Asta linda linda hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ya. Asta linda linda hey yo hey ya. Asta linda linda hey ya. La ya he asta linda linda hey yo hey ya. Asta linda linda hey yo hey ya. Asta linda linda ya. La ya. So kunini ya yo hai yo shanto let lo at din the shitchindi. Dan hold on the say lo yo sin be hindai. Naya zane behind it. Digo ba heads I tate yo asta linda linda yo hey ya. Asta linda linda ya. La ya he asta linda linda yo hey ya. Asta linda linda yo hey ya. Asta linda linda ya. Shont hey yosin shita na yenizane shikisin kuspajita letin shikis Sarawiyana Yada his awazana Negosana awzana Nirastija Yosin behantini Hantin hitahi Hantisa ahi Hantin dije nariyoti Yosin behantini he dionakit lao no we kahi no we hantini he digo nakala taji behida is digo Dahrichi Yosin bigawaina bishakat dan diles Nego sambekat nago wahi nago cho nagolti, bigastat berangoli, and de bion zini, sane bion zini. Huntin betawayan, bajala tajako. Das lenal ditlat, betlana bajet. Yosin bisizini, benat zulli, benat sekesi, ben silly. Danafawa, no we cut done inules. I showed a hair. Huntin this is Zoom, huntin all session, huntin chanel dishon. Huntin dioshikin law, huntin is keen, yoto kliji is keen, is slini udishti. Danafawa, no we cut done inules. I showed a hair. Thank you.